Hello and welcome. Today I want to go over a couple. Hello and welcome. Today I want to go over a couple scenarios, things that could happen in your own country, which could make for a very bad day. But if they happen overseas, they can become much more critical, much more serious. I've covered myself pretty well before I came here, and I'm going to talk about money primarily today. I talked to my banks and let them know that I was going to be overseas using my debit card overseas, so that I would be able to use ATMs here to draw money out. And I did that a month or two in advance and gave them dates. Now I gave them an ending date, and I've extended that. I thought it might be a problem when I went past the date that I gave them. Initially I think I said 6 months. And I actually went back in 6 months, came back after a couple weeks, and I've never updated that dating, but I'm able to use my my debit cards here without an issue. That could be an issue if you give them a date when you're going to be back in the U.S. and you're still in the foreign country. They could shut down your debit card. Same thing goes with credit cards. I notified my credit card companies that I was going to be in the Philippines and possibly a couple other countries, and so that when I went to use them, it's in their system. They don't automatically block me using my credit card. I have seen on videos and I have read on forums where people have had problems with that. They didn't contact each and every one of their credit card companies. One guy in particular, I remember about a year ago, that was on somebody else's video, and he could not get into his bank accounts. He could not access his money, nor could he use his credit cards, I believe. So think about that if that happens in your hometown. You know, you have a local bank you can go to, possibly bank branch you can go to and straighten that out. Well, if you're in another country and your bank doesn't have branches here, or they're not authorized to deal with the foreign accounts here, becomes a major issue. The last couple of months I have an issue that has come up, and I'll tell you, I deal with Wells Fargo Bank, but I had an issue recently where I went online to access my account, to check my balances, to move some money around, and I cannot access my accounts online. They insist on sending a text to my cell phone. So I called customer service and I told them, well, I need to update my phone number. I no longer have a US phone number, so I need to give you my Philippine phone number so you can send me a text, give me a code, and I can get into my account. And they stated that, no sir, we require a US phone number. So I did a search, and I do have a Google phone number. There are a couple apps that I have, and I've tried on my phone, that will give you a US phone number also, and forward to you text, those sort of things. And let's see, one of them is called Sideline, one is called Talk To. There was another one or two that did the same thing. The problem is, and then what they do, they take your text from your home country and they send it to Google Talk, Google Text, whatever it is. But what has happened, Google has went to a different file type system for that type of thing, for their text. And these companies are not compatible with Google, so they cannot send for free your text overseas. So that didn't work for me. I had, for 2 months, I did have a US phone number with T-Mobile at $50 a month, and it was free text, free data. Wasn't very fast. The texts don't have to be fast, but that worked for a couple of months. But at $50 a month, it was more than what I wanted to spend, so I dropped that number. I did happen to bring along an extra T-Mobile SIM card with me, so if I want, I can stick that in my phone call T-Mobile, activate it, and that will be my number, and that's probably what I will do. I tried to send myself a text through Google Talk, and it never showed up here on my Philippine phone number either. So there's one type of issue that can happen here. Number one, you can be locked out of your accounts, and you're not at home, and you're not going home very, very soon, and there's no way to access. There's no solution, it seems. Now, in my case with Wells Fargo, what they had me go into their website where I log on and click a couple places, and the code that they would send to my cell phone, he gave me the code to put in, and then I was able to get into my account. That may or may not work with whoever you bank for, but I have to do that each and every time I want to log in. So it's a bit of a hassle. I will probably activate a T-Mobile or a Sprint US phone number, because it just makes my life easier. Now, somebody asked me the other day about magicJack too, whether it works, and I believe it should work. I was going to buy a magicJack before I left the U.S., but I read different enough bad reviews that I decided not to. I've been getting by pretty good using a VPN on my computer, virtual private network, where I can log in from different countries. From the Philippines, I can log in from a U.S. Internet site, and therefore access many of my U.S. sites. And that's been working for me where I need that U.S. IP address to sign in. Likewise, incidentally, when I tried to sign into a dating site here in the Philippines, and I'm logged in on my virtual private network into a U.S. site or other country sites, the dating site says you're not allowed to sign into this site because we can tell that you're on a VPN, virtual private network, or you're not in the Philippines, so they won't allow me to log in. So I have to log out of the virtual private network so they can see actually my computer's address here in the Philippines. So that's another issue you can run into. Oh, another issue to consider. Many of the banks here in the Philippines, and they'll be different in whatever country you go to, have limits on how much you can withdraw from an ATM machine every 24 hours. Keep in mind, you're in a different time zone. Your bank back home also has certain limits how much you can withdraw in 24 hours. That's based on their time zone, so keep that in mind so you don't have a conflict there. For instance, if I withdraw my limit here after 12 noon, usually, well, I'm already into we're about a 12-hour difference from my bank's headquarters back in the USA. So if I do it at 12 noon, or after 12 noon, that's after 12 midnight. I am into the next day already. So I could not go at 12:30 and withdraw, let's say, $300, and go tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and withdraw another $300, because that's in the same 24-hour period back in the USA. So keep in mind that possible conflict. When you're going to need money tomorrow or the next day or 3 days from now, I suggest that you get that money early, especially where you're in a province. I'm in Cebu City, where there's lots of banks, lots of ATM machines. So if 5 of them are out of money or not working, the 6th one should have money, should be working. But it happens where all of one bank's ATMs aren't working, their computer systems are down or whatever. But I suggest you plan ahead. There are certain times when people are lined up at the ATM machines. They can run out of money, especially in the smaller cities, smaller towns. And if that about 9 miles south of Cebu City, Talisay City, went down there with very little cash in my pocket with a friend, and we were gonna look around at some stuff, and knowing that I could go to the mall and use my ATM. Well, the mall we were close to did not accept the debit cards that I was using, so I was out of luck. So I had just enough cash to take a couple taxis to get us where we wanted to go and get us back to Cebu City. But did put a little crimp on what we wanted to do. So get your cash, get it early, keep it safe. There's no way I could go over every possibility, different scenarios that could happen, but just think about some of these things. I will tell you about one more that happened to me. I was here for just about exactly 6 months, and I left right before my 6-month stay was up. And I had booked a flight back to the USA on Korean Airlines in February of 2016. Well, we have a big festival in the third week of January, second and third week of January, the Sinulog Festival. And a couple things happened. I had my wallet stolen with the credit card that I used for that Korean flight. And one of the things Korean Airlines requires, and many airlines require, is that when you check in, they need to see that physical credit card. Well, that credit card was stolen. I no longer have it. And I didn't want to take the chance in trying to have a new credit card sent to me here in the Philippines, because there's a good chance that I would be leaving before it showed up here, and I wouldn't have there's no way I would ever get it. So anyway, I talked to them on the phone, asked them if it was going to be a problem. They said, yes, sir, we will have to cancel that ticket and issue a new one. Well, I had a couple other issues there, because I had 3 other credit cards with me, but each of them had expired, and they had sent new credit cards to where I get my mail in the USA. But I didn't have them forwarded to me because I knew I was going back to the USA and I would get them when I was there. I didn't need them here. So the only thing I have is a debit card to rebook the flight. So I have to, when I get to the airport the evening of my flight, we cancel that ticket, and I have enough money in the bank. I think it was $900, let's say, rounded off to $900. The flight was $900 to rebook it, and they were nice enough to do it at the same price and not a jacked up price. But I had the money in my debit account, and I had my debit card was still active. Fortunately, it worked. It was my only option, other than staying another week or two and having my daughter airmail me, express mail me one of my other credit cards. So there's just a number of problems, issues that can come up. So think ahead about those things and try to cover yourself. Have an option B and an option C. Have friends that can help you out, family or friends in a real tight spot, that can either send you money through Western Union or Zoom. There's a number of options to get money, cash money here. Many times these problems can end up costing you a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of aggravation and stress. So think ahead, try to cover yourself with a second and third option on many of those things. So that having been said, I thank you for coming along. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Safe travels.